There's a good saying that goes, "It's not as hard as you row, but it's the boat that you're in." Something along those lines. I think that's
Mm,
super important when it comes to agencies, businesses in
hmm
general, the vehicle that you're
hmm
choosing to pursue. Today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about markets, market trends, how to
hmm
jump on a vehicle that is going to help you instead of swimming against the current.
What's an example of a bad vehicle right now?
An example of a bad vehicle right now.
Yeah,
Um,
or like a bad offer, because this is related to offerings and services and like
yeah.
like actual offers, agency offers.
Well, normally what everyone else is doing is going to hurt you. Not saying it doesn't work,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
if there's a lot of other people that are already doing something like, in my personal opinion, pay per lead.
Yeah.
I think it's a good short term offer, but I think a lot of people are attaching to it, and
Yeah.
that kind of leads to a race to the bottom where everyone just keeps on discounting their price a little, and
hmm
you kind of race to the bottom. So I would say pay per lead,
Sure. Yeah.
um, as a specific model. But there's also like industries, like for example, solar. I would
hmm
say solar right now is hurting, especially with one of the bills just passed, so it's no longer
Yeah.
a tax credit.
I've got a more extreme example, newspapers. A
Oh,
marketing agency for newspapers.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
that's
There's a couple of things to consider. So when you're considering offers and services or niches, the first thing you should consider is the TAM of the niche. Like how big can this actually be? Um, if you only work with plumbers named John in a small town of 50,000 people, then maybe your TAM is one or two people.
yeah,
And then maybe you can extrapolate that and say, what happens if I scale up to all plumbers? And like if I work with one person per city and I charge this, etc. Like then you can start figuring out your maximum market size. Um, and then of course you have to consider that, like, let's say you only worked with one plumber per city. Well, maximum client volume is the amount of cities there are that have enough plumbers that can afford your service. So maybe that's 50 to maybe that's 100 cities. So 100 potential clients, and then how many other agencies are battling over the potential clients that you have.
yeah,
So you can kind of figure out what your model allows. Like, does your model allow you to work with just one plumber per city, or can you work with multiple and have it segmented? Um, these are things to think through. Um, and then, of course, like where the industry is heading as well. So if you're in the example where you're doing marketing for newspapers, newspapers seem to be a dying business, and they seem to have been dying for a long time. They're getting less and less popular. So it'd be kind of stupid to do marketing for a newspaper, um, because the the uh your TAM is shrinking
yeah,
consistently. So like one of the general rules for setting up an offer or an agency of any kind is you don't want to do it, or you should tend to avoid industries that are declining. It's much harder to fight against a shrinking market. And like there's not really a wave that you can ride. The wave is basically getting smaller and smaller. And you want to ride a wave that's getting bigger or continuing. So it's much better to work in a market that's actually growing.
yeah.
So as a general rule from a market's perspective, is it growing or shrinking? Something like plumbers is probably pretty like grows pretty slowly because I'd imagine like, or maybe it's like pretty stagnant, so it's not particularly growing. It's not exactly shrinking, so it's not bad. It's not great. Um, just thinking through plumbers, like I guess there's going to be more without technology improvements right now. We've got maybe there's more plumbers put as more people get born. So as populations grow, you need more plumbers. So there's probably a growing market. It probably isn't growing that quickly. If we compare it to a market like e-commerce, that market's growing pretty quickly and has been growing quickly for 15 years, and it's growing because more and more people are coming online
Yeah.
um, and have the ability to shop online. So that behavior that has been an upwards trend for 20 to 25 years. The best time to start riding it was in 2000, the year 2000 when Amazon started, but it's still been a good time to ride this wave since then. And it's looking like it's continuing. It's projected to keep continuing over the next 5 to 10 years if you look at the total expected sales per year.
Now, follow up question on that. What do
Mm,
you, especially with all the changes happening in a lot of industries with AI, what
mm.
what does that play into effect as far as like you're not jumping into a newspaper business 5 years before newspapers start to have that initial decline? Like how do you kind of like
Yeah.
think about that and walk through that?
Yeah, so I think, we've been talking about this from a real estate agent perspective, and it really seems like AI will do more and more of the work that a real estate agent does. So it seems to be a market in which that is going to shrink. Maybe it hasn't started shrinking yet, but it's going to shrink, and you're going to see less and less real estate agents as time goes by, because technology will make the best agents able to do 100x more, and the worst agents will not win any business anymore. So they'll have to reskill and switch careers. Um, um, so that's one example. This is an assumption that I'm making. I could be wrong about any of these. Um, but I think there are some things that AI is going to drastically affect. Like agencies that maybe only write blog articles. Uh, that's probably something where brands are going to have, $50 a month tools, or just use ChatGPT and Claude to be able to actually write articles for them. And maybe they don't do that today, but it's something where like $100 a month software can come along and automate lots of that for you, and that's going to start replacing agencies that write blogs, as one example. So agencies that use AI to write blogs and can make thousands of them that are all high quality and on brand, maybe that's the opportunity. And so it actually creates parallels for new opportunities, but pursuing like companies that even write blogs is probably silly, because I think that's something that's declining, or that's going away. Humans writing blogs, as one example.
So I think what you're saying
Um,
is like
yeah,
overall with picking an offer, picking a niche, picking a vertical, you want to make sure it's a growing market. You want to make sure that
yeah,
your offer is, I don't want to say future proof, but like, you're not going to be left in the past. It's not something that AI is going to come in and completely take over what you're doing. You want to kind of like almost be ahead of the game and say, okay, cool. I notice AI is getting better for video production. Let me make a
I'm going to
service
use that to my advantage.
with
Yes.
this. Yeah, let me make a service
Yeah.
with this. I know like you provided a really good service on the YouTube dubbing a couple of days ago.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
another really good vertical. All those
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah, like if you look at content agencies, so the other factor is like the um, competition to clients ratio. Like if we're talking about service businesses, it's like how many high quality paying clients are there? And I'm talking about like enough to afford the services, like that could actually retain on a service for multiple years and not churn every 3 months. They're qualified, they make enough revenue as companies that they can actually afford the service. Um, and then how many people are competing for that business? If there's, let's say, like really good opportunities, there's like 100 to 1 ratio, where there's like 100 potential businesses per one agency or per one company playing in the space. That's much better than a 5 to 1 ratio, where for there's one agency per 5 businesses. There's going to be far less competition. There's going to be way more opportunity to actually win those businesses. Um, and then the only other kind of partial factor would be like, what's the competency of your competition? Like, is everyone actually competent and good at
Yeah.
this, or are they not competent? Um, I think Warren Buffett talks about this. He's like, I'd rather work in an industry where everyone's stupid and be the smartest person than work in an industry where everyone's super smart and be the just average, or be the stupid person, basically. So what he's saying is like competition is a factor and saturation is a factor, but also what's really important is the level of your competition. And so, like for instance, content agencies 5 years ago were not much of a thing actually. Like these YouTube agencies didn't really exist. Um, Eamon Arab, who was on the podcast, was one of the people. There were several that like made popularized them. To the point where there's like, I don't know about you, I get like DMs all day long on Instagram telling me I could make
Yo,
better
Zach,
content,
your
and I'm
content's
just
looking
like,
amazing. I think there's a little
yo,
tweak in
fucking with
this.
the lifestyle. Like loving the posts, man. By the way, I can make you 30 high converting reels that will generate you lots of business and add 3 million in pipeline, just like I did for my 4 other clients.
In
Exact same thing
pipeline.
every single time.
Yeah.
Like in pipeline. But like it's the same thing. Like and everyone's saying the same
you
thing,
gotta
and there's
you gotta
so
take
many
a
of them.
you gotta take a different approach. I think one of the most effective things that I did for my business was this the second we made a pivot from like seller appointments, leads, like that whole category. We just, I
Yeah.
mean, I'll be totally transparent. It's not like the service changed in a big
Yeah,
drastic way. It was mainly just a messaging shift and a packaging shift that's like completely different. I know this one company that they do like 800 grand a month, and they're doing extremely well. And they call their they basically call their cold callers on their ads virtual door knockers.
yeah,
It's like such a stupid, like it's such a small tweak in verbiage, but for some reason
yeah,
that just sounds different,
for
and
sure.
that's what
So that,
stands out.
yeah, those are like strategies, tactics, hacks. And that's kind of like a competency based thing. So it's not a bad thing if it's a very saturated market, but you're far more competent than everyone else because you're going to sweep up all the business.
Yeah,
The question is like, how competent is your competition? In content, with content agencies, there are some competent players. If you're already an established competent player with credible case studies and like a reputation, then you're probably good. Like you can probably keep scaling. But like in the content agency example, agencies to creators, I think there's more agencies than there are like actually qualified clients now. Like to the point that like I'm not really focused on like growing a YouTube brand. So I'm actually not qualified.
yeah,
Like even though I'm technically qualified from like the other metrics they use to identify that, I'm not qualified because I don't want to make content every day.
yeah,
So and that's like a big thing actually. Like with content agencies, it's like people the person actually wants has to want to make content and be committed to doing that as like a function or as like a marketing strategy or as like a long term thing. Content is not a 2 month stint or a 5 month stint, and it's not automated. It's not automated like lots of other services are, where it's like, I'm going to run ads for you and you don't need to think about it. It
yeah.
actually requires a lot of buy-in. And if you want good case studies, you need someone that's committed to getting better at making content
You need a
themselves.
client who's bought in and willing to work.
So, so the difficulty level is actually quite high to deliver as well. And that would be the last part of the equation. And we need to get editors and we need to start getting fancier animations and stuff and be able to actually exploit, put this equation on screen. But you've got um, saturation. So it's competitors or agencies per qualified client. You've got difficulty level. So how difficult is it to service the customer? You've got TAM. So what's the actual maximum size of this market? And you've got um, uh, shoot, I'm completely blanking. You've got the market direction. Is it growing or is it shrinking? Like are all of the other three metrics on track to get better over the next few years, or are they going to get worse?
Yeah,
Like, is there going to be 100x more agencies in the space because now my ratio is going to look way worse?
yeah.
Um, and last but not least, I think is going to be like the business impact that it has, and that's something to talk about. It's like how impactful is the actual offer to the business?
How
How
does
much
the
revenue
math
can it
work?
bring?
I think that's that.
How does the math
I
work?
think it's
Yeah,
super important to always crunch numbers at every level.
yeah,
Because you might do the math on 5, 10, 15 different offers and realize that
hmm
in order to make your client a good return, 5, 10x,
hmm
make the company at a healthy net margin, and pay your
yeah,
team properly, it might
yeah.
not be possible in what you're doing. Or it might be
Correct,
extremely hard or far fetched. So it's always good to
correct.
crunch numbers and make sure you're looking at every angle. Now, question for you.
Yeah,
Let's say I'm currently running an agency and I feel stuck at some point, or I haven't even started yet, and I want to choose the best niche vertical offer possible. What would be like your 1, 2, 3 steps that you'd follow to kind of like identify the current business or current scenario and pick the best plan of action to go after?
um, it's a great question. Um, um, I think there's an element of your level of understanding. So it's like, how well do you understand something already, and how interested are you in it? Um, but those don't matter as much as this other part of the equation. Like, I think if you get the other part of the equation right, like unless you're really attached to a specific industry or like you're very missionary about a problem, like maybe you really care about climate change and you really want to build like eco-friendly optimization services for companies or something, I don't know. Then I think for lots of people starting out, they don't care. They don't. focus on bigger human level problems, and I don't think that they're interested in that when they're building an agency. Now, I do think that's how you build the biggest companies in the world. I think more people should skip to trying to build things that are more impactful if they're going to build, or working at companies that are building something more impactful. But with that being said, if you're starting an agency for the purpose of cash flow, um, then I don't think you should be too attached to a specific niche or offer or service. And in that case, then really it's just the equation. It's like, is it a
Yeah.
growing market? Is my competition um what's my ratio between competency of competition and then saturation? Um and what's the actual TAM? Like, is it big enough to
Yeah.
support 10 agencies making 1 million a month, or 10 a million a year, or is it not?
Yeah.
Um, like,
And
is
then
there
how
actually
does
enough money going towards these
and then
services?
how
And
does
then
the
does it
math work?
provide good results?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does
Can it
it
provide returns that are acceptable to a business in order for them to be able to justify continuing to invest in it?
Yeah, and most importantly, you want to make sure it hits the three categories I think are super important is you got to make the client money, the business has to make money,
Hmm.
your team has to make money.
Hmm.
Like it's
Hmm.
at least what I've noticed is sometimes it can be really hard to get all three of those things. If you're missing
Hmm.
one, team churn is high, which affects client
Yeah.
results. If you're missing client results, obviously clients churn, team morale is low. If you get client
Yeah.
results and teams getting paid, but the business margin is 5%, you have to hit all three.
Right. Yeah. Um, yeah. Agreed on all fronts. That was a good episode, man. I mean, I think that really is what it is. Like,
Easy.
yeah, I don't think there's anything else but to cover on that front. I hope this was
Yeah,
helpful to everyone watching.
easy. Wait,
Cool.
wait,
All right.
wait.
See you
We
all
forgot
soon.
one
Oh,
thing. We forgot one thing.
what did we forget?
We forgot that there might be a link in the description that might lead you to an application page that might grow your agency to $1 million a year. And if you want that,
Profit
profit. And if you want
in
that,
profit with good margins.
like, I don't think it will be a crazy thing to just go apply there. So
This is a wild call to action.
go apply there.
I'll be shocked if anyone follows it now. See you guys.
Later.